Welcome to American Journal, everyone. I'm Michelle Dabney-Perez.
And I'm Charles Perez. Michelle, you may remember, I know I do, when you're in your 20s, you think you can survive just about anything. That is, until a sudden twist of fate which pits you against your own mortality. This first story begins at a famous San Francisco landmark.
That's right, Charles. That is where a young man suddenly falls off a cliff and begins a 12-hour struggle not everyone could endure. Stacey Galandi has the story as it unfolds at the scene.
It's an early morning in San Francisco, California, when suddenly a young man falls over a sheer cliff. He drops 60 feet and lands in a crevice. Incredibly, the young man survives the fall, but he is trapped. Now rescuers are in a desperate race against time and tide. This man was one of the rescue workers.
He's wedged in the rocks down at the bottom, okay? So his feet are suspended in air.
Nothing they try works, and the tide continues to rise. Jackhammers are brought in to chip away at the bedrock. Next, they pour in lubricant, but the victim remains stuck. Nothing rescuers try works. Fire Chief Frank Circos is losing hope.
We haven't been able to dislodge this fella, and if we don't get that rock removed, then, the outcome doesn't look good.
Doctors are called in to plan an emergency amputation. If the rising tide gets too close, they will have no choice. But at the last minute, rescuers finally pull the young man free with a long pole and call for a stretcher.
All right.
He is hauled back up the 60-foot cliff that almost claimed his life. It's almost 12 hours after he fell, and hypothermia is starting to set in. But miraculously, he has no broken bones.
What was that like to be buried in those rocks for so many hours?
I felt like I was in my coffin, actually. I mean, I thought my life was over, period.
In an exclusive interview, 21-year-old David Elkins watched his rescue for the first time since leaving the hospital.
Do you remember what was going through your mind at that point?
Well, you see where the water hit me, and I started freaking out. I thought the water was like coming up over my head right there.
Elkins says he owes his life to the dedication of his rescuers.
David, what do you say to these rescue workers who helped basically save your life?
Tell them thanks, because if they gave up on me like I already had, I wouldn't be here. I mean, seeing myself right there.
And what's so amazing is that his most serious injury is a tiny scratch on the retina of his eye. And even that has begun to heal.
Undoubtedly a very lucky young man.